Okay. Oh, you can hear me. Nice. So welcome everyone at the green stage. We have Henrik, who had some technical difficulties, and we had to exchange the cables. So I'm also a bit stressed. I have no idea what I will say because I was just focused on fixing the issues. But yeah, he will talk about effective pair programming with AI, and that's a pretty fascinating topic.
That's it.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Round of applause for him, and
let's
see what you can tell us.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to sweat more, you guys or me, but damn, it's hot in here. Okay, well, welcome to this very extremely geeky little thing we're going to be doing. I did it once before as an experiment, and it kind of worked, so I'm going to be an idiot and see if I can pull it off again. Thing is, live coding is always a bit risky, right? Things break, and live coding with AI, you get this other random variable. We'll see. But my purpose with this is to inspire a little bit. Just quick background. How I got into most people who know me as this kind of agile guy who talks about Scrum and stuff. But what I actually am most passionate about is product development, and it's always been like that. So I've coded more or less, continuously for the past 30 years, whether it's professionally or whether it's hobby projects. It's always been a part of me to code and build products. It's what I enjoy. About a year and a half ago, or maybe even 2 years ago, I was sitting and coding, and then a friend came by, and he's like, the thing you're doing there, the coding, this was 2 summers ago. He said, I think AI is going to be able to do that soon. And I was like, yeah, right. I couldn't even entertain the thought that a computer, which is this dumb thing that executes my instructions, could actually be writing those instructions. So I told him, because I'm a nice guy, I'm like, yeah, maybe. Internally, I'm thinking, forget it, right? No way. Coding requires creativity, critical thinking and imagination and intelligence and, high-level systems thinking, all this stuff that computers definitely cannot do and probably will never be able to do. So I just simply assumed it's never going to happen. And then, of course, time passed. ChatGPT came along. It was like a better Google, essentially, the first version. It was useful as a tool, but I didn't think of it as a coder. But then GPT-4 came along, and I was like, okay, a lot of people say this is really good, so I'm going to try it. So I sat down for actually a few days, I'm really going to give this a spin. And I was really, really shocked. In fact, I was shocked to such a level that I made an instant career change and decided that I'm going to stop doing what I do and only do this, because this is a real game changer. So yeah, for the past year, maybe what is it now, a year and 3 months, I've pretty much been coding full-time using these tools. And what I want to illustrate is a little bit, I'm curious, how many here are coders? I'll start there. I'm assuming most of you, because I'm going to be coding the whole time, right? But if not, if you don't code, you'll probably learn a few things anyway, just by seeing how it can work. And okay, and how many of you use generative AI kind of continuously as your buddy when you're coding? I'm curious how. So that's starting to get fairly widespread. Half a year ago, it would be maybe only 5% of hands. Now it was only half, maybe, or about half. Of course, there's some selection bias here. You're the people who chose to come here. But for those of you who are experienced with this, maybe there are some tricks that you'll learn today that you haven't already discovered. And for those of you who haven't tried it before, you'll probably be surprised, maybe even shocked, because most people who don't use this technology at a deep level greatly underestimate what it can do. So I hope to give you a dose of inspiration and maybe some practical tips and techniques for how to actually use this as a tool. So yeah, one thing I've noticed, and I keep noticing over and over again, is when it seems to do dumb things, when the AI model seems to fail, it's almost always my fault and not the model's fault. It takes a bit of humility to kind of realize that. So a lot of people who tried AI, assisted coding, sometimes say that, oh, it's not very good. But actually, it's your bad prompt engineering skills that is causing 90% of the failures. And when you start realizing that, then you start questioning yourself every time something goes wrong, and you realize, oh yeah, of course it gave the wrong answer. I didn't give it good enough context, or I just wrote a dumb prompt, or You know, the information I gave it, even a professional, human, awesome coder would have failed too. So that's one kind of aha that, you know, the models do have limitations, but most of the limitations are actually in you and me, the actual users of it. Another insight, don't be stingy. There are different models out there. I like to use the metaphor of Einstein in your basement as kind of metaphor for what generative AI is. It's this metaphor for some smart person who can help you and never runs out of patience and can basically is your super intelligent coding buddy. It's just my mental model, right? If you're using a good model like GPT-4o, the latest one from OpenAI, or Claude Opus, which is pretty amazing, then that's what it feels like, having this genius next to you. But if you're being a little bit cheap and you're using the free ChatGPT 3.5, it can still be helpful, but it'll give you a lot of crap, a lot of bugs, a lot of hallucination. So don't be stingy. Pay up. These models are not expensive to use, and the productivity gains are like large enough that the cost is really negligible. Another mindset thing. Think of AI as your colleague more than anything else. It's not going to take over your job, at least not yet. it's there to help you, right? Just like any colleague, you got to learn to work with it. And this is a weird colleague. It's an absolute genius, but also an absolute idiot, right? It can solve amazingly difficult problems, but it doesn't know what time it is right now. Try asking your whatever model you have access to what time it is now. It'll probably get it wrong, or some math question. So there's some things it just can't do. And it can do amazingly good code, and then suddenly it'll fail on something that seems kind of trivial. So you got to learn to recognize when your colleague is drunk, essentially. And hopefully we'll find some techniques for that today as well. Can I ask a favor? Maybe one of you guys by the door, just get some water for me or something? Thank you very much, because I realize I'm not going to last here. Thanks. Okay. Shamelessly using the audience. Little pitch, all right? There's a lot of, hype around generative AI. I made a video a few months ago called Generative AI in a Nutshell. You find it on YouTube. It just summarizes the whole thing in about 13 minutes. If you find yourself, thank you very much. If you find yourself confused and a bit overwhelmed, this video might be a way to give you just a high-level understanding of what is actually going on here. It's fairly short, but covers a lot of different things, and it ends up in a very nice big drawing. But one of the things I do at the end of that video is kind of represents what I work with now, basically full-time, which is this. Agents. What I mean by agent is when you take AI and you basically give it legs. When you give it tools, ability to do things other than just respond to questions, and when you give it autonomy, the ability to act on its own without waiting for you to write a prompt. That's, to me, an agent. And most of my examples today aren't going to be agents, but I want to mention this a little bit because this is where I think it's kind of going. And for context, this is going to sound like a shameless pitch, but if you're curious about agents, go to fleeting.ai. It's a startup I'm involved in. I put up a video there describing how we built kind of a digital journalist to work alongside a human journalist. I won't show it now, but if you're curious, you can go there, find that video, look at it. It'll give you a picture of what I mean by an AI colleague that works alongside you. But okay, in coding terms then, what might that look like? Something like this, I think. Let's say I've made an agent called Bob the Fixer, right? And I give Bob tools. So you can have access to a bug tracker, GitHub, Slack. That's a good set of tools. Right? You can get quite far with these tools. And then basically let him work autonomously. So I give him some kind of mission, which could be just fix bugs, but collaborate with the team. So just like any good developer, you don't want them to just run off and disappear for a year and just do stuff. They should be working with the team and collaborating. So Bob the Fixer, next morning, he writes a Slack message. Hey guys, I fixed these 2 bugs, and I made a PR for it. And I also saw you guys talking about that security issue. I have an idea of how to fix that, so I added a PR for that too. So he's working autonomously fixing stuff, but in this case, putting up PR so the humans can review it. And maybe he would join the stand-up. Let's say it's a video call, and you have this voice of Bob there, right? And then just like everyone else is talking about what they're going to do today, Bob chimes in and says, hey, guys, you got anything you'd like me to do today? I have some ideas myself, but I'm curious what you guys think. And someone's like, hey, that scaling problem that we were talking about last week, do you think you could look into that? Bob's like, sure. Okay, I put up 3 PRs for this. So have a look at it when you have time, and we'll talk about it. Because Bob is insanely fast. So Bob intentionally slows down to a turtle's pace to match humans sometimes. This is just an example of what that might look like in practice. A lot of companies are trying to build this kind of tool. I haven't seen any yet that works really well, but we're pretty close. So it's a bit of the Wild West. These products aren't very mature. But surprisingly soon, I think this will be the norm, having these AI colleagues in your team that just does stuff, but in collaboration with the team. And I think it's important that as developers, we're still in control here. We write his mission statement. We give him feedback, right? So he should be helping us and not just causing chaos. But what happens with these tools, and don't worry, we'll get into the coding soon. But what happens with these tools is, especially if you're new into it, it can be a bit scary. Has anybody felt that feeling of, shit, what the hell's going on? Hand up. It is weird. It's a weird world. And I've noticed that people tend to fall into kind of mindset categories when it comes to these things. Some people kind of end up, well, all of us kind of start here. This was me, right? A couple of summers ago, I talked about, my friend told me that, AI is going to be able to code. I'm like, forget it. I've been doing this for 30 years. Of course, it can't code better than me, right? Or companies just saying, this does not apply to us, or we don't have time for this. This is dangerous. This is the place where companies actually run into trouble because they can't compete if they don't use tools like this. Their competitors will just be so much faster. And also as an individual, these are the people who are going to have, of course, struggle to find a job in the future because you'll just be so slow. So dangerous place to be. But the other corner is here, the kind of panic corner. When you realize that, oh my God, these tools are incredibly powerful and they're improving at an exponential rate. My God, I won't have a job in the future. That's a bit of a depressing side to be in. And I also don't think it's quite true. I think developers are still needed. It's just the work we do changes. The nature of our work changes. So I'll talk more about that. So what I hope a little bit in this room, regardless of where you are on this scale, I hope to get as many as possible towards this middle place where you think of it as, wow, this is a tool. And it makes me insanely productive. And that feels kind of good. Or makes my company very productive, makes my team very productive. It feels better to be there, but it's also a more future-proof place to be, right? These are the people who maybe are least likely to lose their jobs because you're using this stuff. So yeah, improving your productivity with these tools, which I think they do, is also something that tends to improve motivation. It's fun. I go to work more motivated than in the past because I'm more likely to get useful stuff done today because I just will spend less time wrestling with code. And that feels good. But it also goes the other way. Motivation causes productivity because motivated people tend to be more productive. So I think of this as a positive kind of cycle. Cool. Are you with me still? I know it's hot in here. So let me see the Borat double thumbs up from everybody. You got to do a smile too. Great. At least most of you are with me. Great. Okay. Great. Now, it's going to get really hot in here, and I'm going to sometimes ask you to talk to each other a little bit. I know it's very awkward to do that, but I'm going to do it right now. So stand up and talk to your buddy for 2 minutes. Go. See. All right. Cool. Now that you all know each other like brothers and sisters, we will continue. So there's this thing, I'm calling it a bit tongue-in-cheek, AI-assisted coding in 2023. And well, how does that look like? Well, you have an IDE here, and you got ChatGPT over there, and you copy-paste a lot back and forth. That sound familiar? Anybody recognize this? Hand up. Yeah, this is what it is. It's funny because it feels pretty stupid, right? I ask it to do something, it gives me code, I paste it in here, I do something, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to change something, I got to go write a prompt, and oh wait, I got to give it my code. Which damn code do I give it? And then you have to make a guess, and you guess it wrong, and it gives you bad code back. And it's kind of a weird process, but it kind of works, though. At least for me, I got hooked. It feels dumb, but it still made me more productive. Luckily, we are beyond this now. Oh yeah, and there's also this GitHub Copilot. How many use this? GitHub Copilot. Amazing, right? It's like tab completion on steroids. It just reads your mind, and boof, just code shows up. Incredible. But what's cool now is there's a new breed of tools starting to show up. I'm going to use one today called Cursor. Has anybody used Cursor? Hands up. I'm really surprised because somehow they absolutely botched their marketing. Because the tool is superior. You can't go back once you've tried it. So Cursor is a fork of Visual Studio Code. I don't like Visual Studio Code. I'm a JetBrains person. But when I saw this, I tried it, and I'm like, oh my god, it's worth it. Damn it, I'll just get used to VS Code because it has AI integrated. It's like a fork of this. Don't worry, you don't have to use this. I'm showing an example of the tool that I believe right now is at the forefront. But they're not going to be alone there for long, right? JetBrains and all these other companies are catching up, right? So I think what you're going to see here is going to become the norm. But right now, it's Cursor. They're ahead of the pack. And no, I'm not sponsored, but I probably should be. So I'm going to be building stuff in Cursor. And you guys will be my mob, because I'm going to screw up sometimes, and you're going to help me instead of staring at me awkwardly. You with me? Yeah. Good. Because there will be screw-ups, and we will learn from it. I'm going to exaggerate deliberately. I'm going to deliberately try to not write a single damn line of code. In reality, with AI-assisted coding, you'll mix it a little bit, right? But for the purpose of this little demo, I'm going to try to just go boof, exaggerate, and not write a single damn line of code. Sometimes I'll have to break the rule. We'll see. So I'm going to start with something stupid simple, and then I'll do hopefully 3 or maybe 4 demos, depending on time, and it'll get increasingly more complicated and realistic, right? So for those of you who are new to this, these simple examples will be most useful. For those who are more experienced, the more advanced examples will be more interesting. But I'll start with something really, really dead simple, just to get us warmed up, right? So what the heck is this? What does it mean to have AI in your IDE, right? So here it is, Cursor. And over here to the right, there's a little chat. Hello. See if anybody's home. Yeah. Is this okay font size, or should I increase it? You guys in the back, right? I see thumbs up. Good, great. So, so far it's really just ChatGPT, but kind of over here to the right. And it's actually using, you can pick the model here, it's using GPT-4o. Difference between GPT-4o and GPT-4 at the moment right now is that GPT-4o is insanely fast in comparison, and cheaper and smarter. So I don't know why you would ever use GPT-4, but yeah. Anyway, person number. What is a person number? Let's ask. What is a person number in Sweden? We're gonna be using a Swedish concept now. Okay, personal identity number. It has a format where you write year, month, date, and then the 4 numbers, and may or may not have a dash sometimes. Sometimes it's 4 numbers there, sometimes 2. It's a personal identification numbers scheme thing. So let's just say we're doing some backend service and we need to parse these things, right? So let's just say, you know what? I'm going to stay in that context, actually. So you can have different chats. You have chat history, right? I'm going to stay in this context, and I'm going to ask it to write some code for me. Why am I staying? Why do I want to stay in this chat? And I'll start a new one. Yeah, this little bit of extra context will increase the likelihood that it'll get stuff right. Right? It's like kind of like it's telling itself what it is. So not always important, but I'm doing it now to increase the odds of it succeeding. And I'll just say, write a simple function in, let's say, I suck at Python, so let's use Python, to validate a person number. OK. Go. So far, it's just ChatGPT. It's really no difference. But we'll get to that interesting bit soon. Oh, there it goes. OK. So it's giving me a bunch of code here. And loon, checksum. OK, already now, before I even put it in, I want to do a bit of a sanity check. That's good practice, right? Is this what I want? And I'm like, no, not really. I don't want all this checksum stuff. So I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to edit my prompt and say skip checksum. Right. Skip checksum. I could have just continued the conversation, of course, or go back and just kind of rewrite the prompt. So I'll do that. Skip checksum. Make it a bit simpler. There are obviously packages that do this for us, but let's pretend there's not, right? So we want to actually write this code. OK, let's copy it. Copy. And we want to make a file, right? It's a funny thing with this cursor. It's an amazing tool, but for some reason it can't create files for you. They're obviously going to fix that soon, but right now I have to actually go through the painful work of actually creating a file. All right. I got to drink some water now. That was really hard. Jesus. That's why they pay us developers, right? Oof. How am I going to manage this? All right. Paste. OK, what is it doing? I don't know. We'll just run it. And then we'll, run it first, then think, OK? Wait, where am I? Oh, wait. I'll just start a new terminal. New terminal. OK, I need to be in the right location. There we go. Python main.py, I guess. OK, it said true, false, false. What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? I don't know. Does this work? I don't really know, so I'm going to ask it to write a unit test. I feel a bit like, it wrote a function here, and then it wrote some code here. This almost is like a unit test, right? So let's do this. I'll just tell it, write a unit test, write some unit tests, just a few. Right. Otherwise, I don't want it to like spam, right? OK. So here's some unit tests. OK. It's putting in a different file. Test validate person number. OK. Where do I put this? You should put a separate file. OK, sure. OK, so it's being helpful here. Do I have to create a folder? Come on, I'm not paid enough for this. I'll just write test it, not py. Right? I'm feeling rebellious. OK, so it gave me a test, and I'll just copy it over here, and we'll see what happens. There we go. All right, and do I just run it? I don't know. Let's see. Test it. OK, so it ran 5 tests, and I see the word OK. Does that mean it worked? Does it? I don't know. I don't trust you guys anyway. I'm going to ask this guy. Does this mean it worked? Yeah, good. Great. OK. How do you test a test? I want to break it. I want to write something that is wrong. That's wrong. I'll just put a because it's supposed to be a year here, right? So I'll go like that. All right. I'm testing the tests. Failed. OK, good. Right. Now I feel a little more comfortable. OK. So I could have done another way around. I could have asked it to write the test first and then write the code. So TDD and AI are friends, right? So OK, what do I want to do? And I want to turn this into an app. Because I want to be able to run this many times, right? So I'll just say, I'm going to be doing some things unconsciously. Please call me out sometimes on it if you think there's some interesting learning point. I was about to start a new chat without telling you why. Why am I starting a new chat now, suddenly, do you think? It started to get dirty. I got all this background stuff going on, right? So good habit in a tool like this is don't gather up too much crap. It'll start getting confused by the history. Because there's now code up here and code to the left. And here's a really nice thing. In ChatGPT, right, let's say I want this to be, I want this to become, make it an application, a console application. Could I do that in ChatGPT? No, what'll happen? Yeah, I have to give it the file, right? So it'll work if I give it the file, but this is so funny. It thinks it knows what I want now. And it's going to try to, it's kind of cute, right? How it really wants to make you happy. Yeah, it doesn't have the context. But here, if I go make it a console application, you see what it says there? Yeah, it has this as context. That's so nice. It always has your current file as context, right? So it just saves time. So, okay, what did it do here? It added a main down here. And here's the other nice thing. In ChatGPT, you copy-paste, right? I'm just going to press apply. And it just does it. It just made the change. So I'll just press accept. So that's what I mean by copy-paste going away. Just say do it. It's very nice. So let's see if it runs. I can sanity check. There's some kind of main loop over here. Sure, whatever. Python. I should have this in the history. There. Okay. I need an argument. Okay, we can do that. But I'll do like that. Well, I need a date, and then on D4. Cool. Val person number false. Okay. So, but I don't want to have to type every time, right? So I'm just going to go there. Now I'm going to show you another feature. You can just select a small piece of code and just ask it to do something with it. So let's do that. So we can go here. And where is that pop-up? There's a little thing you normally can click on, but I'll just use the shortcut key. So Command K. Now you can write something. I'll just say loop it, please. I didn't even say please. And there it goes. There, it's looped, right? But it's not asking me. It's just printing that, right? So no, dumbbell, loop it, and ask for input. So these are the kind of things that it just takes maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute for me to do it myself. But A, I make mistakes sometimes. B, it takes 30 seconds for me, but it takes 10 seconds for this guy. And those savings add up over time. So these little savings, right? If it works. So let's try. Enter a Swedish person number, blah, blah, right, etc. So, okay. So there's like different ways. What's nice about this tool, it puts AI in your face in different ways. You got the chat over here. You got the apply button where it just copies it over. And you have a Copilot, which I haven't even shown yet. And you have this kind of built-in thing where you can just ask it to do stuff. I'm going to show one more thing, though. Let's say we want to add some more unit tests, right? And for that to, technically, this context should be enough for that, right? I can just say add a few more. But you can also ask it to include other context by just tagging it. So you can go like tag main.py. There. And now it basically copy-pastes for me, sticks it up there. You can also, I noticed by accident the other day that you can just drag it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know. All right. So yeah, add a few more tests. So now it has the current file and whatever I tag. You can tag a folder even. The tagging is pretty advanced. I won't go into all the gory details, but they've basically taken the pain out of a lot of, you don't need to copy paste so much. You can just point that stuff, right? Which is nice. So yeah, there's a few more tests. Okay, let's see. I'm going to do one more thing now with this, right? I'm going to go, let's go to this main thing. Actually, I'll make a new file, and I'll write extract from file. And what I want here now is I wanted to write a script that reads the contents of a file and lists all the valid person numbers in that file. Like that. What you always need to think about is what context does it need. That needs to be like a continuous voice in your head. What context? What context? What context? So what context does it need to do this? Yeah, at the very least this one. Maybe the test, I'm not sure, but I'll start with just this. Because otherwise it's going to reinvent that code, right? So I'll just be clear, I'll say use the existing function. Just to be clear. Function, okay. Here we go. Okay, now things I want to do inside the same file. Sure, whatever. I'm okay with that. So let's just apply it. Apply the entire file. So the less I write in the prompt, the more it guesses, right? And often it guesses pretty good. But sometimes it guesses wrong, and then you need to add some more context. In this case, it guessed wrong, but I think its guess was fine. So, whatever. Okay, and let's create a file. New file, person, numbers, txt, and oh god, I need some test data on here, right? I am too lazy to add test data to this file. No, I don't want to automate it. I'll just say, I'll add one here. Right, and we'll just say add more. Maybe that'll work better. Sure, okay. Cool, 10 more, some should be invalid. This is the art of absolute laziness. What I noticed is the more you use these tools, the more you come up with dumb use cases like this. I did not think about this until just now, honestly. But I will probably use it in the future. Okay, so here we go. Let's run. And what file is it going to try? I'm not really sure what file it's going to try, but let's just run it. Python main, probably. It wants. Okay, it's an argument. All right, person numbers.txt. Okay, valid person numbers. These are all valid according to it. Okay, I'll trust it for now. Now, what? These, you mean? Yeah, they should be invalid. I guess that's why it didn't include it. I'm not sure. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try one that's valid. This is definitely valid. And my spelling is beautiful, isn't it? Okay. No, yeah, but good. We're testing it. That's great. Yeah, and that's an important point. Don't always trust it, right? Always test, you know, just for in case. What? I don't understand. Invalid date. Where's the invalid date? Line 9. Oh, yeah, invalid date. That's right.
But it says the other February 30s are valid, right?
No. No February 30s here. I don't see any. But I'm going to stop here because this doesn't really matter. The point I want to get across, because let's say it did something wrong, we would give a feedback and it would fix it, right? So let's not dig deeper in that, but I'm really glad you point these things out. What I want to get to is, I want to show Copilot also, right? So, let's say we're inside this code here. I'll just go down a little bit. We go down to here. And the person number has this nice thing that, and I don't know if it's good or not. It's a bit weird if you think about it. The last number, if it's odd or even, indicates the gender. So let's go def is male. Right? Well, how about this? Just get gender of a person number. And there, I just press tab. Is that, I don't know, is that correct? What the heck is this? What does that even mean? You know what? I'm going to say, explain this. I don't understand what this even means. Extracts the last character. Okay. But I don't want that. I want it to say male or female. I don't want to have to remember. So let's do this. Let's go back here again. I'm going to say, I want it to return male or female. There we go. See what happens. Yeah, sure, whatever. So this is not tricky code, but it's nice how these tools kind of work together. So Copilot, which is what the autocomplete one, and the kind of like inline asking it to change stuff. And as like Copilot is always looking at the code, right? So if I now write def is female, there, it's going to autocomplete. And not only is it auto-completing, but it's also reusing the same function as from before. So it's kind of magical. And I'm actually not using GitHub Copilot here. I'm using something called Copilot++, which is part of Cursor. It's an improvement to GitHub Copilot, which is impressive because GitHub Copilot is amazing. What they've added in Cursor is a better version of it that can make bigger changes and also remove and edit code. GitHub Copilot tends to always only add code. So let's say I rename a variable or something, then this one will actually suggest changing stuff, larger changes, which is kind of cool. But I wouldn't say it's mandatory in any way. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, one more thing. This file one thing. Where do we read the file? yeah, here, let's add a bug, okay? I'm going to add a bug. We're reading the file over here and interpreting it, right? I'm going to go like that. And we run it. It's failing now, right? So how do you fix it? You write 3 letters. What are the 3 letters? I'm not telling you what to fix. Doesn't matter, it finds it, right? These models, this model at least, GPT-4 and better, are amazing at spotting weirdness in your code. So it's like, yeah, but you know, dumbass is what it's thinking, but not telling me, you put something wrong in there. And I could copy the whole method again, or I can just be lazy and go apply and just say fix it. And it goes, oh, yep, that's the fix. Sure, okay, great, and we fixed it. So yeah, that was demo number 1. This is going to be my talk. I'm going to be showing stuff like this. Is this interesting? Is this what you came here for? Hand up if this is what you came here for. Good. Otherwise, we could talk about other stuff. But okay, cool. Yes.
Because I've actually solved this problem. And if you were solving this problem without AI, the first thing you'd do is go and find out what algorithm is used, and then discover there's a Python standard module for it.
Yeah.
Import that module and write module is that impersonal number.
Yes.
And that's you go online.
Yes.
Here you've got a whole, you've sort of reinvented the wheel.
Exactly. I've reinvented the wheel, and that's a really good point. There's a risk of continuously reinventing the wheel, right? How do you avoid that? You can ask it. I can literally say, don't reinvent the wheel, and it'll start looking for packages for me. And sometimes that's good, sometimes not. However, one caveat is that GPT, and probably all models, are really good at writing code, not always super up-to-date on all the different packages out there. So if it starts using a third-party package, I would say 50-50 chance it would just get it wrong. It's using the wrong version or something like that. So that's the price you pay. You might have to do a bit of debugging. Another price you pay is if you use a third-party module, you might get something more complicated than you need. For example, in this case, I wanted it to ignore the, what's called checksum. I wanted a simpler version. So it's a trade-off, right? You get your own code, you get control over. It's more likely to get it right. External code, you can do more advanced things without having to maintain a bunch of code yourself. So I think keep that thing in mind always, and then realize that there's 2 sides to it. One difference, though, is nowadays, reinventing the wheel is quite cheap, almost free for these kinds of things. In the past, it was pretty expensive. So reinventing the wheel is more of an option now than it maybe was in the past. Okay, let's see. I'm going to show one little more advanced example. This was just kind of back-end code, right? I'll show one slightly more advanced example. Then I have a few slides I want to show as well. Let me just see when the right time is for that. Yeah, we'll save that one for later. Okay, cool. So mostly coding, but I got some slides. So let's go to demo number 2, which I think I have something called. Look at that. I'm so prepared. It's just an empty folder, but okay. Right. Now I want to build an actual application. And this is really interesting from the perspective of non-coders being able to code, right? Because that's now actually becoming possible for non-coders to write code. Not necessarily production quality code, but at least write code and communicate in terms of code. So I want to build, where the hell did I put that? Yeah, I want to build this, a to-do list thing. So if I had this on a whiteboard, I would take a picture with my phone, but now I'll just screenshot it. So this was the result of our very long and fancy product design session. And I'm going to say here, I'm going to give it the picture, and I'm going to say build it. And then I have some time to drink some water. It's good. Is that mine? Yeah, it's mine. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. There we go. Damn, I didn't have time to drink my water now. I have to ask it to write some more code. Okay. So, I really wish you could create files for me, but I can't. So I have to create. It says create index.html. Sure, I'll do that. Note that it just assumed I want JavaScript, and it assumed I want, I think it's Node.js it wrote. Yeah, it assumed that. Maybe correctly or maybe incorrectly, but if it's not, if it assumed wrong, I'll just tell it, right? So it's no big deal. Another thing is language doesn't matter so much. I don't have to be good at either of these languages. I could tell it to write it in some other language, and it would probably do it fine, right? So knowledge of syntax is suddenly not a very important skill. To some extent, yes, but getting less and less important. OK, it wants a CSS file. Oh, God, this is so much work. Style.css. Oof, am I done? Oh, God, I have to create a third file. Jesus. OK, that one. So now I am copy-pasting. But it's just, very fast copy-pasting. So the cost, I already did that one. OK. So the cost of copy-paste is quite low. OK, I'm going to run this, and there's probably some plugin for that, but I'll just go reveal in Finder, and here's my application. There we go. OK. Wait, did it even use the style sheet? Styles.css. I'm like, that was unusually ugly. There. OK, what about now? Whoa! Give GPT a hand. Come on, he's doing all the work here, right? Jesus. Oh. You think it works? Do the laundry, check. Fix climate change. Nope, not yet. Prepare my talk. Drink water. Yeah, done. Works. Good. OK. I want to improve something in this. What should we? You know what? I'm not even going to ask you. I'm going to ask it. I'm going to go back to the context we had, because it's not so long yet, so it's not getting too dirty. We're there. Right, I have this fairly short context. It has the picture. It has the code. That's a pretty good context. And I'll just say, what do you think we should add? Right? And, OK. And it's like, well, now its context is a bit weird, because it has this chat context and also this particular file right now. So we'll see if it gets a bit confused. But task deletion, task editing, task persistence, filtering, that kind of makes sense, right? So which one should we do you think? Let's pick one. Deletion, maybe? You know what? Let's go a bit wild and crazy and say give him a 1 and 2. Oh, wait, he already did one. Which one did he do? Task deletion. Mind reader. OK, this guy's an absolute mind reader. How did you know I want that? I don't know. Maybe it's because it's an obvious thing. Oh, wait. It said add styles. I'm not going to erase my whole file. I'm going to add something. So, and I'm too lazy to do that, so you do it. All right. There we go. And what else do we need to do? We got to go to the JavaScript. I think it's smart enough to switch files. Let's find out. Yeah, it got that. So change a file. Here's the thing. As a developer, you need to decide, do I care about this code? Right? Now I'm doing an accelerated demo, so I'm just kind of breezing past it. In real life, I would stop and maybe like, does this code matter? Is it an important feature? If so, maybe I would read it more carefully and think about it. Now I'm just like, whatever, right? And in the stuff you build, it's going to be the same. Some code matters. Some code is just like, this is just some admin UI. I don't care how the code looks like. If it works, I'll just leave it, right? So you kind of make that judgment call from case to case. Plus, you can always do cleanup in a later step when and if it's needed. So, OK. That's really weird. I said I want to delete and edit, and that's exactly what it gave me, even though I didn't say it. It just assumed it. That's really almost creepy. But OK, let's see if there's a delete button now. Let's see, like that. No, there's no delete button. OK. Let's add all the changes it suggested, and let's see what happens. It wants that, and it wants this. Oh, let's have a look at that. Where? In which file? Hey, look at that. You know what? I'm going to hand fix it. I'm going to do it. I did it. That's why it's pair programming. Right? That's why it's pair programming, because I do work too. OK. It wants, OK. Oh, task persistence? No, this is enough. I don't want all that stuff, right? That's way too much. OK, cool. Let's reload. And now it's not working anymore, probably because there's an error. Nope, there's no error. OK. So what do you do now? It's not working. Fix. right? So there's a lot of code here. I'm a little bit worried about this getting a bit too messy, this thing. So I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to say, what do we want to fix primarily? How about we just say fix? But which file? There's a bunch of files here, right? There's a way to get us to look at all files. You just say with code base. However, there's a glitch in that, I noticed. It only works if you put stuff in a folder. So let's put stuff in a folder. There. OK, now, fix with code base. Nope, didn't. So I'm going to show something now, how you can fiddle with this tool a little bit. Up to the right, there's cursor settings. This is a bit of a sidetrack. Here you can define which models do you want it to use. You can also have it use your own account. If you have like Claude or OpenAI, you can ask it to use your key. In that case, this tool is free and you're paying per token. So it's kind of up to you. But if you use their version of the models, you get more tight integration. But anyway, there's a thing here called rules for AI, where you can give it extra instructions. I gave it this instruction. Don't give me the whole code every time, just give me the changes. Right? It becomes less spammy. But then there's also, I think it's the features, indexing. Yeah. You normally don't have to do this, but now for some reason it hasn't indexed the code. So I'm going to tell it to have a look. Right? So it's very rarely that I need to do that. And the way I noticed it was because when I went here and pressed fix, I didn't see my files show up. But now I see it. Right? I saw that it saw my files. And that's cool, great. So it looked at all my files, and it's removing hard-coded tasks, okay. I didn't tell it what to fix, so it's guessing, right? It's guessing what I want. So ensure tasks are loaded dynamically. Local storage, is that what I want? I'm not sure, honestly. So I'm going to be more specific, right? Fix. The delete button doesn't work. But does anything work, actually? That works. Oh, you can't delete the pre-made ones. Duh, so it was right. Remove the hard-coded ones. See, as I told you, it's almost always here, not there. It's really interesting, right? I keep bumping into that. So anyway, I'll stop here. I think you see the point. This is an example of going kind of end-to-end, just taking a screenshot and having it fix it. If I spent another hour here, we would have a database up and running. We would have a back-end and a front-end. And we probably would change the approach as well. Because if we say this, let's say I will continue building on this and adding features. Is the current, is there a better approach than the current approach? This is where the developer comes in. The developer in me feels like, should I just keep adding CSS and HTML and maybe there are frameworks or something, right? I at least want to ask the question. So I'll do that and I'll say, take a look at the whole code base and just, let's have a conversation about this. And now it's going to be like, okay, I don't want code. So stop. It loves to make code. So no code. No code, just talk. Now it's a little bit sad. Right? Frameworks, React, Vue, Angular, should be this or that. And I'm going to fast forward this movie a little bit. What we could do now, but I won't, because I think you get the point, is I could say, sure, build me a React app out of this. And then it will do exactly that. It'll take the code and go and make a React app out of it. And after that, when I ask it to add new features, it'll do it with less code and also likely less bugs. Because just like with a human, if a human continues working on this program under current conditions, with handcrafted styles and JavaScript, it gets pretty icky pretty quickly, right? So as a human, we'll start making mistakes. We'll need a lot of code, and it gets ugly. Same thing with AI. So if I kept doing with this demo, it'll get buggier and it'll get messier, just like with a human. So then I would say, stop, use a proper web framework, and then after that, I'll be flying again. So you can use a lot of analogies to just, if you're working with a human, what would you want to do? Right? So but I'll skip that in order to not get too stuck on this. And I will show, one slide, I think, I want to show about quality. So now we were kind of making a mess gradually, right? Making this pile of code. You own your code. So you can't blame AI for your mess. If you find that the code is getting messy, refactor it. Or ask AI to refactor it. Or use your tools to refactor it. So AI models tend to match the code, the style of your existing code. So if you keep your code clean, it will tend to to keep your code clean as well. But if you have built a pile of duct tape and string and just chaos, like a sandcastle, it'll just keep adding more duct tape and strings onto it, and it'll fall apart. So yeah, take control of your quality and don't blame the AI models for it. If you wanted to write more comments, ask it. If you wanted to make better variable names, ask it, right? So, okay, let's do one example, a slightly more advanced example. Let's see. This is, so now I've been writing new code, right? But in real life, you don't do that very often. You normally edit existing code, right? So I have a little hobby project that you can try if you like. It's located at, why is my browser over there only? Am I not, wait. Let's do this. Oh, I know why. I'm just doing presentation mode. Cool. All right. So yeah, if you were to go to, let's see, view, no, I don't know where I should look at right now. Whodunit.kniberg.com. It's just a silly little hobby project where I've been kind of experimenting with how far can you go with using AI in your products. So this is like a mystery game where you are a detective and you're supposed to solve mysteries. So if you give it a key, I'll give it an OpenAI key. There. And then you can generate new mysteries. You can say, I want a mystery which takes place in Budapest at a conference, and it'll create a new mystery for that theme. But it takes a few minutes. I won't do that. Instead, I'll just show you an existing one. So here's the Mystery of the Stolen Clock. All this is AI generated. The storyline, the characters, the images, this newspaper article, it's all AI generated. And what you do in the game is you try to solve the mystery. So you, let's say I want to interview this guy, Sir Arthur Lovelace. Where did you last see your clock? He lost his clock. Right? And now it's like it is role-playing this character, and I'm supposed to gradually try to figure out what happened, who stole the clock. So you're interrogating people, you're searching the crime scene, and then you're basically, at some point you will make an accusation to the police, and then if you got it wrong, the wrong person gets jailed, and then you fail, right? Or if you got the right person, then you win. So it's a detective story, right? But it's all kind of AI-powered. But let's say you want to edit this code now, right? So this is an existing product. It's not a super huge code base, but it's also not super trivial. There's different components and stuff going on. So I'm going to fire this up locally, and then we'll play with it. Cool. Local version. So while it's starting up there, here's a really interesting use case as a developer. Let's say I've never seen this code base before, and now I'm supposed to do something with it. Or I wrote this last year and I forgot everything about it. So now I want to understand, okay, there's some app here, there's a Lambda here, there's like, what is this code? How does it fit together? Where do I start, right? Maybe I'm not used to working with React or Next.js or whatever. So the nice thing is you can talk to the code base, because this thing can be aware of your code base. So I can say, what is this? Right? What is this product? And it looks at the whole code base, and it figures it out. It's a murder mystery game. You play a mystery, and you can complete a mystery, and there's some features in it. I'm like, okay, what is the game? Oh, wow, okay, let's scream at it, yeah. What is the gameplay loop? That. And it's getting this from the code. It's quite amazing. I was looking through the code, and it's figuring out the gameplay loop. And now it's being a bit slow for some reason. Sometimes you need to do this. Cancel it. Go again. Isn't it funny how our impatience just increases as tools get better? You start thinking that 10 seconds is a very long time to wait for anything, right? So, and now it's being extremely slow. I'm not sure why. But while we're waiting for that to come along, let's see if this runs. So here it is. And there's the game. OK, cool. So the kind of the change I want to make now is here. When I publish or unpublish a mystery, like when you make a mystery, if you like it, you can share it with others. So you can press publish, and it gets shared. But I think it's a bit scary that it does that without any confirmation. It just suddenly publishes it. So let's ask it to fix that. And let's say I don't have any idea where in the code to do that, right? Why didn't I answer that? Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Try again. This is going to be a boring remainder of the talk if GPT dies. Yeah, what's the gameplay? There's a game lobby. These are things you can do, etc. When you're losing, it just nails it. It creates the perfect documentation on the fly. It's incredible. And I can also ask it to make technical documentation. Describe the key architectural components. And yeah, it'll do that basically. Although it's being kind of slow now. Yeah, front-end, Next.js, Chakra UI, back-end, API routes, database, Mongo. It just gets it. So this is a very useful way to understand a code base. But now I want to make a change. So I put this in here, and I say I want a pop-up confirmation when I press publish. This is, you can use the old agile user story format, right? Adds a blah, I want blah, so that blah. Stick it in there, boom, right? So, and I don't know where in the code to make the change, so I'll just go with code base. Look at the whole damn code, fix it. That doesn't always work, right? Because it's looking very broad. So it'll understand the big picture, sometimes miss the details. So I would give this maybe 70% chance of working. We'll see. But even when it fails, it's usually useful, right? So let's see. It's changes in mystery card. There's something called a mystery card here, which if you look at it a little bit, seems to be one of these, right? Already now, it's valuable. It found where in the code to change. So even if it made the wrong change now and totally failed the rest, I'm already happy because it helped me find where I should make the change. So that's kind of nice. But it also actually is making the change here, and it's telling me what it's going to do. And yeah, let's see what happens. So I'll go here, and did it get interrupted as well? It's still not finished, or let's see. Oh, there, okay, apply. That's making the change. It's good to sanity check, right? Sanity check, what's it doing? There's a publish button. It's wrapping it in a popover. That seems to make sense, right? So it seems to be on the right track. Let's actually try this and publish. Are you sure you want to publish this mystery? Yeah. Cool. Give him a hand, right? Good job. That's good. And just to make things interesting, let's talk about, make it a little more complicated. And let's say here, what are some different layout options for this page, other than the current kind of tile-based layout for mysteries? And I don't want it to give me code now, so I'll just say no code yet, please. I just want to discuss, right? Now I gave it no context. Why? Other than the picture. Why didn't I give it any context? I didn't give it any code. I didn't give it anything. Yeah, I don't want it to be locked in by the current, right? So I'm always thinking, what context does it need? And sometimes less is better. So now it's saying a list view, carousel slider, accordion, grid view. There's all kinds of options. So that's really useful. Okay, so now I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to say I want to be able to toggle between the current card tile-based view of mysteries and a simple table view where each mystery is one row. That's like I don't know, that's not a trivial change. It needs some digging around. So now we're being a bit optimistic, right? And again, I would say maybe it's 50-50 here. It might fail. But again, that's quite nice, because that means 50% of the chance it would solve this for me. And when it fails, well, heck, I just burned 30 seconds. That's not so hard, right? I might just fix it myself. So let's see. It wants to do stuff in the lobby page. Well, that just seems like some kind of lobby page. Add a state for it. Okay, it seems like it thinks it knows what it's doing. That's a good sign, at least. So let's let it tinker a bit. Now it is tinkering. It's adding a table there. That seems nice. It is adding some kind of state there. So I'm sanity checking the code a little bit, because if I can see it's obviously wrong, I'm not going to waste time testing it, right? But something happening here. Okay, whatever. Let's go. Table view. Oh. I don't know about you. I think this is really impressive. Who thinks this is impressive? Just curious. Or am I just... Yeah, and this is getting better and better, right? Right now, the tools Again, it won't always succeed, but think of it like it can do this now, and it's improving every week. So we're kind of entering some new strange world, right? When we have, with even a simple prompt like I wrote now, it can navigate a code base and make changes like this. And what do I do if I think this is an ugly table? Because I do think it's an ugly table. Just ask it to fix it, right? Okay, let's see. This page is getting quite big now, right? There's a lot of stuff in it. It's combining two different views here. I wouldn't want to leave this code in the current state, right? So let's say, what do you think of the quality of this code? Generally well-structured, strengths, separation, concern. It has some strengths, areas for improvement, code duplication, performance. So just changes, TypeScript changes, error handling. Okay, so here I would, in real life, spend maybe 10 minutes talking about this, because it's actually useful. And then I would say, break out some components, probably. I don't need to be more specific than that. Break out some components. And it figures out, okay, an action button could be a useful component. Am I even on the right page? I don't know, we'll see. Localhost, there. Mystery table component. Yeah, that makes sense. That's this one probably. And then mystery grid component seems to be that one. So in this case, oh, wait, again, yeah, that's what I did. So in this case, I would probably say that sounds good. It's on the right track. He wants to make components out of these into separate files. So this thing can be a refactoring buddy, and it's really good at it. But again, it's your responsibility. You need to take that time, right? So, okay, we're just about out of time. We have until 20 past 5. Do I have time for one more demo? Maybe. Yeah, I'll be an optimist and try one more demo. This one's going to fail, and deliberately so, actually. Initially, at least. Open folder. Wait, we can go back to here. Open. Open recent, how about that? Let's go to demo 2, and let's just erase this one and start from scratch. Okay, what do you think would happen if I say this? Write a simple terminal-based chat application that uses OpenAI. What do you think will happen? How many thinks it can do that? Anybody? A few? Yeah? The thing is, what it starts doing now, and I'm going to save a bit of time. I would have wanted to demo this, but I don't have time, so I'll just tell you the story. It's writing code that doesn't work. The API has changed. It doesn't work like this anymore. So if I run this now, it's going to fail. You can do a few prompts to try to fix it. It will try its best to fix it, but it doesn't know the latest version of the OpenAI API. So this is something you deal with. Anytime it's going to use an API, you got to think about that. But there are simple ways to deal with it. So the simplest way is simply to, well, there's two, I guess, OpenAI reference. One way is to actually do this. Sponsored links? No, there. One way is to do this. See. Reference, right? I could ask GPT to look for this for me, but it's pretty slow at surfing. It'll click around, it'll take time. I'll find it faster myself. Okay, here, create chat completion, right? I could give it that doc, and I could just say, use these docs, right? And I'll fast forward again. Cursor will look at this. It'll index that document, it'll read it, and it'll try to make it work. But only succeed about 20% of the time. I don't know why, right? It's just, this is technology that is being developed. My guess is within a month, maybe it'll nail this, right? As it is right now, the current state of technology, give it documentation, it's kind of hit and miss, right? So we'll definitely get there soon. Instead, what I would do is this. Here's an example. And guess what? AI loves examples, right? This is an example of how to use just using curl. So here is, so it's two things I'm going to do now. Number one, I'm going to make the problem simpler. So I'm not going to say build a chat application. I'm going to instead say write a simple hello world application that uses OpenAI to generate response. Just the simplest possible thing. And I'm going to give it an example of how to do that using curl in this case, and an example of how the response looks like. So let's see others. Can I copy that? There we go. Let's see what it does. Okay, now it seems to know what it's doing. I can already now look at this and compare with that and see that it seems to be on the right track, right? So let's copy that and make a file. Chat test dot, what's this, Node.js, I think. I don't even know what language I'm coding in anymore. Oh, it's Python, all right. So, Py, there we go. Okay, it wants an API key. So let me just grab an API key. I'll just, let's see, create one. Dashboard, API keys, create new secret key, blah, blah. And the puzzle? Come on, I don't have time for this. I have like 10 minutes left in my talk. Just let me pass. Right. There we go. Thank you. That's my key. I will cancel it later on, so don't get any ideas. I want to use this fast model right here. And let's run it. Note that it's not using any library now. It's just using pure HTTP. And that's ironically the safest way, because that's one less source of error. It doesn't need to understand the latest version of the Python wrapper on OpenAI. It just needs to understand the OpenAI API directly. It's better at that. So let's run it. Python chat test. Oh, yeah. What? Where am I? Oh, source. Yeah. Okay. Now I got something wrong, and I won't have time to fix it now. So I'll fast forward the movie. What happens next in this movie is I argue a little bit with it back and forth. Getting it to work, getting this to work is kind of fiddly. AI doesn't help you very much. You do it the old way. Go to the documentation. AI helps you a little bit. But once you get this thing working, once you get Hello World working, then you're done with the icky parts. Because now it knows how to talk to OpenAI. Then you can go back to the magical part of just saying in the prompt, hey, build me a cool little application that does this or that, and just, whoosh, it just happens. Because the one thing it couldn't do, it now can do. Are you with me? That's a really important pattern, because that means you can use all these APIs successfully, but just you implement the little API-specific parts, and then ChatGPT builds the actual application. Really cool. But okay, I want to save a few minutes for some slides and some reflections, so let me see where that is. Yeah. One use case that I just want to mention are things like this. I want to deploy this, and oh no, how do I do this thing in AWS? How do I set the firewall thing correctly? Just screenshot, give to ChatGPT, and it surprisingly often knows how to deal with weird, big web interfaces like this. Not always, but surprisingly often. So that's just a use case. But what I want to get to is this like notion of what does it mean to be a developer when we get to this new world of having tools like this? We could spend a long time on that, but I want to just plant some seeds of thought. Because think about all the code we just wrote, right? Spend about 15 minutes per demo. How long would that have taken without AI help? Probably hours, even for a really good developer. So this is something I noticed over and over again. When you really learn to use these tools, work that would take hours now takes minutes. Work that would take days takes hours. Work that would take weeks takes days. So it really changes the whole nature of our work. So I think you're kind of like this. Traditional coding, you spend some time understanding the problem, and then you spend a lot of time wrestling with code. And we tend to underestimate how much time we actually do spend wrestling with code. Copy-paste to ChatGPT. You still need to spend time understanding the problem, but now you spend time transporting code back and forth to the ChatGPT window, right? Copy-paste both ways, but it saves time, so it's worth it. So that's just kind of, AI-assisted coding in 2023. But now with AI-assisted coding in 2024, understand the problem, we can spend even more time on that now, because we have time for that, because we spend less time on coding. So that tends to lead to better products. And we spend almost no time copy-pasting, transporting code, because it's so integrated. And we save a lot of time because it has a better contextual awareness of your code. So it will basically be a much better coder than it otherwise would have been. So we save a lot of time. But the amount of time you save depends on your prompt engineering skill, and you're going to kind of suck at it if you're new at it, and that's fine. You get better automatically if you have this kind of self-awareness of being self-critical. Like, oh, it just failed. What can I do differently? And then you learn, and then it gets better. So this quote was brought up in a talk just a couple of hours ago, and I think it's a good one. It's from Kent Beck. And basically, he phrased it like this. The value of 90% of my skills as a developer just dropped to 0. And the leverage for the remaining 10% went up 1,000 times. This tweet gets quoted a lot, and I think he captures the essence of what's going on here. We as developers are still needed, at least for now, but coding is not the skill that is needed, writing of the code. In the same way that in the past we used to spend a lot of time writing machine code and assembly language and worrying about memory management. Nowadays, very few people need to do that. So the nature of our work changes. So in the 10% is maybe things like communicating, things like understanding the domain of the customer, things like being an architect and really thinking about what's going on. But the typing of the syntax, try to understand how to get this particular thing to work, that skill is worth almost 0 and is basically quickly disappearing. So let's see. Yeah, suggestion. I recommend doing this with your own time and also maybe with your teams, is recalibrate. Take a look at what you spend time on. Whether you're a developer or not, whatever your role is, think about what you spend time on. Put up sticky notes, right? I go to meetings, I write code, I do this, I fix bugs, whatever. And just kind of like classify a little bit, things that I should continue doing. This is human work, right? Going and talking to my customer, or having lunch with my teammates, or whatever it is. Human work, giving someone a hug, right? AI is not good at that, right? Things that AI can help me with, and things that AI can completely take over. So I don't think AI is taking your job. What it is doing is taking many of your tasks, and hopefully the less exciting ones. And that saves time. So then you have the nice question of, hey, what am I going to do with all this extra time? Maybe you want to spend more time cleaning up the code, thinking about architecture. Maybe you want to build more features, or maybe you want to spend more time with your kids. Whatever it is, this kind of gives you more life options, which is nice. Unfortunately, some companies are going to use this as an excuse to downsize. That's kind of unavoidable. But I'm kind of hoping that companies will more and more realize that, hey, this is a way to give our existing teams superpowers. So instead of firing people and making everyone else scared of new technology, we give everyone superpowers and make them love new technology. And then I think those companies are the ones that are going to win. But that's just my 2 cents. So wrap up. This is my guess. You know, predicting stuff is really hard, right? Especially the future, as someone said. My guess is that in the future, we're going to have this conversation. Little kid here asking grandma, is it true that humans used to write code manually? She's like, yeah, pretty amazing, right? And the kid's like, but wasn't that really hard? She's like, yeah, we were slow and made a lot of mistakes. Fortunately, we don't do that anymore, right? Except some people who think it's really fun will still do it. I'm a musician. I like to play music. I don't care how good AI gets at making music. I'm going to make music anyway because it's fun. So I'll probably always code a little bit because it's fun. But it'll be hard to get paid to do manual coding in the future. That's a lot likely. In the same way that nobody's really getting paid to make punch cards or write assembly language instead. So we're in this kind of evolution, which I think kind of boils down to code itself being something that is basically very rarely written by humans. But that's just my guess. Who knows? So I'll wrap up with just kind of my 2 cents on the role of humans. I think most roles that are kind of, require some kind of, intelligence, creativity, education, or like high-level jobs of various sorts, I think the human is still needed. And I think it'll be so for quite a while, because all this code that I write with AI, I couldn't do it nearly as fast or as good without AI help. I could have done it myself, but it would have taken a lot longer, probably been worse, right? AI could not have done it without me either. We needed each other. And I think it's going to be like that for quite a while. Because sometimes it messes up, sometimes it hallucinates, sometimes it misunderstands. So I think you need to be there, whether you're a developer, doctor, lawyer, to evaluate results, spot hallucination, right? Compensate for things that it's bad at, math, for example, or understanding the latest API. You're going to be the one maybe deciding what is the task, what is the mission, right? Being kind of the leader here. And providing the context. What context does it need in order to do a good job? As it is right now, Cursor can to some extent figure it out through indexing, but I'm still kind of needed for that. And of course, things like legal compliance, data security, AI can't take over your responsibility, right? So you'll still have the questions like, am I going to use and an open source model or an external model, a local model? What data can I put in? All those kind of questions AI won't solve for you. It can assist you, but it can't solve for you. So yeah, that's basically the talk. Key points, there's a carrot and a stick here. Right? The carrot is this can make you insanely productive as a developer if you learn to work with it. Stick is, if you don't know how to work effectively with it, GenAI, people who don't know how to use these tools as a developer will probably be unemployable in the future. I can't really imagine why someone would pay someone to be that slow. Right? And the biggest limitation is you. And prompt engineering, whatever that thing is supposed to be, I don't like the term, I sometimes call it prompt design, but there is some kind of skill here, which is kind of new and takes practice. But a nice thing about that skill is that if you get good at that skill, it kind of automatically makes you also a better communicator. Because these things like providing a clear context, giving good feedback, that's what a good leader does. We're leading a team also, right? So a lot of these things that make us a good prompt engineer also make us better at communicating with humans. And yeah, take a deep and hard look at how you spend your time and maybe start recalibrating a little bit. So hopefully this talk has helped you move a little bit more towards this nice middle section. So yeah, thank you. That's what I had. We're kind of out of time, but can we do questions still, or what's the setup?
So I guess we have time to answer all of them, probably.
Yeah. First question, what does it cost? Right now, $20 per month, roughly, if you want it to be good. And energy, how much it consumes? Crazy amounts of energy. We're so extremely efficient, humans. So their energy consumption is ridiculous right now. But it's going down very quickly because everybody wants it to go down. There's so much research going on. There's so much strong commercial interest in making these models more energy efficient. So I don't have any numbers behind this, but I'm not so worried about the energy problem. I think that's going to be solved over time. But in terms of cost, you can basically think of it as the cost is nothing compared to your salary or your time, as it is right now, if you compare it to what it does to your productivity. And also what it does to your learning. You learn things faster because you can ask it. Like, I can write Python now to some extent. I'm using React, all these tools I'm using, I didn't know them before, but I've learned them by doing. So it's like you have this expert buddy sitting next to you, showing you and teaching you as you go. So I find that the learning accelerates as well. But okay, can we trust in tests? Oh, whoa. Yeah. This is one of those cases. You need to think about when are you going to really read the code, right? So if it's a mission-critical system, I might ask the AI to read the test, but I would read it very carefully myself as well, right? Well, in other cases, you might just leave it. But as it is right now, I would say you really can't trust the code entirely, 100%. So for less important things, I tend to trust it, because it'll get it right 95% of the time, maybe, which is fine for hobby projects. But if it's mission critical, I would still use AI to help write the code, but then I would manually look at the code. I would maybe have another AI model evaluate the code as well. So you get at least two, for example. But I think it's a very good question. It's a little bit scary. It's kind of like a self-driving car that's getting really good at driving your car by itself, but sometimes it goofs. You still need the steering wheel then, right? You still need to stay awake. You can't just sleep. I think that's kind of where we are now with the code. So the question was, now it wrote the test, but it already had the code. Yeah, maybe it's a better idea if it doesn't have the code. Is that what you mean, or what was the question? Yeah, I can say, without going into too much detail because of time, I would say in general, I'm very impressed by GPT-4's ability to write tests, whether it's unit tests, integration tests, or acceptance tests. You just need to be smart about what context are you providing. Sometimes it might be smart to not provide the implementation as context, because then tests might be biased by that, for example. But yeah, let's see, let's do a couple more. Do you think understanding to write code is easier for AI than understanding human language? Maybe I don't understand that question really, so I'll take the next one. What do you think stops POs and PMs just limiting the programmer? This is interesting. Why do we need the programmer, right? I think we're moving towards a future where, as a PO, as a product owner, you can communicate with the team with code. If I have an idea, I have something I want to do, just check out the code, ask AI to build whatever way you want to build, and make a PR. That PR is unlikely to get merged because maybe it doesn't fit in with context, maybe there's bugs, maybe it's not production quality, but it's really good communication. So then that becomes maybe in some cases replacing the story, right? And then as a team, we can choose, do I want to have a conversation about this? Or maybe the code is fine and I just press merge. So I think the ability for non-coders to write code is fantastic. It doesn't mean they should always be doing it. And as it is right now, I think a professional coder is still needed to build, unless it's a trivial application, right? The to-do list thing, I don't think you need a developer to do those kind of things anymore. But if there's some kind of complexity involved, a real coder is probably needed. But simpler things can be done by non-coders, and then the real coder can kind of take over from there. Those are just some thoughts. But it's really nice that writing code is no longer monopolized by someone who's had many, many years of experience, and only they can do it. There are size limits when Cursor is reading a code base. Yeah, what happens is it indexes your code base. I haven't tried yet with mega code bases, so I don't know yet. I'm pretty impressed at what it did with that code base, and that code base wasn't tiny. I'm not so worried about that question, though, because the token limits of LLMs is growing so much. We're like starting to get to the millions now. So I think the ability to take a massive code base and have it just index the whole thing, it's not sending the whole code base to the model. It's indexing it so it can figure out which parts to send. And it's doing that automatically. So that's what we humans do manually, otherwise we're using ChatGPT, right? The technology is quite early. Like I mentioned, we got kind of lucky now. It succeeded. Sometimes it'll fail. But even so, it's still useful. And over time, I'm pretty convinced that it will get really good at auto-indexing even a massive code base. You make a trade-off, too. When you ask it to look at your whole code base, the AI model now has the big picture, but it might lack some details. So I sometimes do both. I index my whole code base, have a discussion at an architectural level, and once I get an answer to what I want to do, then I figure out which part of the code does this affect. And I'll start a new prompt, pass in that, and say implement this thing. So then we get both, high-level thinking and kind of specific thinking. So these are some examples of kind of prompting techniques that you gradually start getting used to. But yeah, you'll have to stop me, because I can just go on. I think it's interesting. Like, how many questions do we...
We have time, I
They're
think.
still here. They look happy, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
just go on. If they're happy, then
Okay.
just continue.
Is Cursor much better than GitHub? I would say it's a complement. GitHub Copilot, and feel free to shoot me if I got this wrong, because things keep changing, right? But last time I checked, GitHub Copilot only adds code. Is that still true? It auto-completes, it adds code, right? Mostly true, yeah. So that's great, but often you want to edit existing code. Copilot can do that. You select a piece of code and you write something, but in general, it's awesome at code completion and adding new code. You can't really use GitHub Copilot to say, refactor this class for me. It can't do that unless it's changed like last week. So I think GitHub Copilot is amazing, but it's a complement. I think of it as one of the pieces of Cursor that makes it so valuable. But also, as I mentioned, Cursor has its own version of it called Copilot++, which is one step even better. What about security? Do you trust open source or free? Yeah, pass. I don't know. It's a big question. Personally, it depends on the context. If I'm working with a customer in the defense industry, for example, then we'd be very, very careful about looking at what model are we using, what are the terms and conditions, which companies do we trust. So I would put this in the same bucket as using any cloud service. Are you going to put your code in GitHub or somewhere else? Well, that depends, right? It could be a security question. Are you going to use Office 365 or Google Docs? Well, then your stuff is in the cloud. Are you using Slack? Guess what? All your stuff is in the cloud. So I would put that, whoever talks about that, I would bring it to that group, kind of. What tools would you mention other than what I use in presentation? I would put it this way. What I showed you in Cursor, think of it as a glimpse into the future. I think all tools will be like that fairly soon. I chose to use Cursor because they're kind of ahead right now. But I think very quickly, the different providers like JetBrains, et cetera, will be leapfrogging each other. So I can't mention any specific because, okay, I guess I could add. Personally, when I'm coding, I use Cursor. I use basically what I showed you. It's enough, right? But if we had a little more time, I would love to just have a conversation with you guys, because I'm sure you guys have a lot of tools. In fact, how about this? If anybody has one right now, you're like, damn it, guys, this tool, make sure this is in your list of tools that you should use in your code. Shout it out.
Cursor?
Cursor? Are you just tired, or was that it? What? Copilot is amazing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, even just using GitHub Copilot with whatever IDE you're using today is amazing, right? So I wouldn't say that, like, you can do a lot of stuff I showed you even without Cursor. Cursor just makes it one step easier. But yeah, it keeps changing, so you kind of need to budget some of your time to just try new things, right? Because I mean, I'm talking about Cursor now. Maybe in 3 months, people will laugh at Cursor because there's something else that's so much better. So experiment, right? Does success rate depend on how widely existing solutions are? Yes, this is one of the things you need to take into account when coding with AI. Like, okay, I need a logging framework. Should I use the most commonly used logging framework, or should I use this very, very, very niche log framework that has this one little extra feature that I need? Well, I would say use the common one, because AI knows that one and will get everything right. So you'll save so much time, so you can compensate for whatever little feature it was missing, you can build yourself probably. So I tend to default to using more common frameworks, and sometimes not even the latest version. When I use Next.js, which is a React addition, I don't use the latest version. I use like the second latest version, because then AI knows it very well, which saves a lot of time. So yeah, so keep that in mind when you use tools, yeah?
This was my question, I think you misunderstood what I meant.
Oh.
So, for example, a to-do list as a way of learning JavaScript and making a web page
Yeah.
is the sort of thing that there are 20 billion
Ah, right.
code online for. So I
Yes.
expect an AI to be good at that.
Right.
If I'm doing something very specific in quite a weird niche
Yes.
environment, then surely it's going to struggle a lot more.
Yeah.
It hasn't tuned in loads of
Yes. So I'm really glad you asked that question, because there's a nuance to this, I've noticed. If I ask it to make a to-do list, I don't need to give it so much design and requirements. It knows what it's supposed to do. If I'm making something weird, like my detective game is weird, right? It could not guess what I wanted. So I very much had to be the design guy. It could give me ideas. It could be a bouncing partner, like an idea partner, but the design, I had to be quite active there. However, the code, it wrote almost all the code. So you can build a very strange new type of product, but if it's built using Python, Python is well known, JavaScript is well known. So I've been fairly surprised at how well it can write code, even for completely new types of products, because the coding is not so unique, but maybe the design is. I've also been surprised that with my mystery game, it's a weird kind of product that I don't think exists from before. Now that it has my code, it can be a pretty good design buddy and give me ideas. So I've learned that some people say AI models cannot be creative. Well, my experience is that that's not true, because I've seen it work with products that don't exist in the market. But once it has seen it, then it can help figure out ways to make it even better. So it seems like there's some notion of creativity in there. But yeah, bottom line, if you're building something that already exists, maybe ask yourself, why am I even building it? First of all, right? Maybe I should just buy it or download it. But if you are building something that's fairly common out there, then you can be less picky about writing down all the needs, right? It could probably just figure out what you want. If you're building something a little more different, then you need to be a little bit more active in your kind of product backlog perspective. But okay, I don't think this list is going to end. So I'll do one more, and then we'll call it, right?
Okay.
One more. What about quality? Yeah, will the generated code, I don't know about that. I'll just pick this one because I like this one. What about quality? Will the generated code match our quality requirements, design principles, architecture? How much explaining does that need? I would start with zero explaining. Just let it make whatever it makes. And then as you see what it does, then prompt it. With Cursor, you can add like a standing prompt, like I mentioned. You can also add a file called .cursorrules in your repo, where you can basically write down what is your code standard. However, I've noticed that it tends to adapt to what you already have. So if you already have code that follows a certain standard, it will usually follow that standard. So I tend to just let it do its thing, and then when it's failing, then I add kind of to the prompt. And I find it to be fairly good at that. But yeah, thank you guys. This was super fun talking to you.
Round of applause for having.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And a small gift for you.
Okay.
Congrats, it was great.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you for showing us cursor. And although you showed almost everything you showed was AI generated, thank you for the hand-drawn graphics. That was really, really nice touch.